Teach me to dream, and I'll become. I am an African child. Thank you.
Guys, clap. If I don't see clapping adults, you come and do for us a poem also. Iko na mwingine, mwana iko na spoken word, rap. DJ apata kupatia beat. Who has a rap? A song? Kuja.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. So my name is Job from Narok, and I have a song. Please, if you know, I would like you to keep quiet. I'm the one who is singing, eh? Sawa? Okay, it goes like this, eh? I wanna scream it out from every mountain top. Your goodness knows no bound. Your goodness never stops. Your mercy follows me. Your kindness fills my heart. Your love amazes me. And I sing because you are good. And I sing because you are good. You are good. You are good to me. Be blessed.
Now that we are clapping, I'm going to show you how to clap. There's several claps. Anybody know the inclusive clap? Come and show them what an inclusive clap looks like. Inclusive clap? Anyone? This side? Is that an inclusive one? Anyone? Anyone? Okay. I'm going to ask one of the children to come and hold for me the mic. So because we are trying to be inclusive for children or persons with disability, especially hearing impairment, so we have an inclusive club. So the president is not here. Just come and hold for me. I think you know. Come and hold for me the mic. And we are going to be doing this, and then we are going to do other clubs. So that it's fun. It's a children's event, okay? So the inclusive club is 1, 2, 3, and then you do. Okay? Can we try? 1, 2, go. Okay. One more time, guys. So that's an inclusive club. Okay? And then there's the dancing club. Okay? I said I'm biased. I work with children. So there's the dancing club. Okay? Hold the child. Kids, come and help me so that tuonyeshe kudance ni aje. So the dancing club, you have to start here, and then you go back. Can we try? And we have to be standing. 1, 2, go. Let's go. 1, 2, go. That is not, I can't hear it. It's like 1, 2, go. And then inclusive clap. Okay? Anybody? So let's try that clap. 1, 2, go. The dancing clap. I can't hear. Is it a clap really? Inclusive. Inclusive. Yanyayo. Thank you. Okay, for those ones who are not from Kenya, we had a president who had a special clap. So you not just clap anyhow, you had to clap one way. Okay, let's go. The dancing clap. Inclusive. Nyayo. Thank you. Okay? So there's another child who had a song. Kuja. Oh, there's a young one. Come, just also come.
Hello. In front of you is Hosea Domezo from Narok County. Are you happy? So, this is not a song, this is a joke. Nakuuliza swali, unajibu. Ndio. So, one day, siku moja, nilikuwa natembea. Nilikuwa natembea nikakutana na wajamaa wanaenda mpira. Wanasema mpira. So, vile niwauliza wakaniambia, nenda mbai si viatu, viazi. Vile nilifika huko, nikaenda kwa soko nikapata mama anauza viazi, akaniuzia viazi, nikarudi. Vile nilifika njiani nikapatana na askari. Kaniuliza naenda wapi? Nikasema naenda mbele. So vile nilikuwa naenda mbele, nikakutana na mwingine akaniambia unaenda wapi? Nikasema nyuma. So sikuwa naenda mbele tena, nikarudi To those who not understand Kiswahili, I'll use English kidogo. Sindio? One day I was walking along the road. Are you getting? Or you understood? So, I found a police. And the police started asking me a lot of questions. Nikasema aje. I couldn't answer all those questions. Akaniambia, wewe ni kijana unatoka wapi? Nikamwambia natoka wapi? Si nimetoka Narok. And this is the end of my jokes. I like to be a jokes man. Thank you so much.
Why I like working with children. Now children, they have said, Mom, we have a shairi. So I have like 3 children who are shairi. Adults, do you want to listen to the shairi or I pick up on you? In the kids actually have told me we have one adults first and then they can go on. Adults, anybody with a singing voice? They are not willing. Tuendelee tu ni yetu. Haya, there was this girl. Just come, just go. Oh yeah, there was young. Go fast. Sorry, it's because I'm the back. And then you can go sit right there where he is. Go sit there. Go sit. You can sit there so I can remember.
God is good and all the time. Niko na rap ya Kiswahili. 1 2 3, akili zangu 3 kama soli ya kiatu. Niko juu ya ndege, nala kindege. Niko juu ya Honda. Mbona nimekonda, masaa kaingia, mjini Tanzania, kaua watu 100, mama nipe 100, nilishe familia, watoto wana.
Ebu rudi hapo. I say, I know I'm a child, a 90s child. We used to do this thing. Ebu rudi, and I didn't see, hey, oh, guys. I thought, who is not a 90s child here? You know, the hip hop. Okay, let's do it. 1 to go.
1 2 3, akili zangu 3 kama soli ya kiatu. Niko juu ya ndege.
Adults.
Niko juu ya ndege, nala kindege. Niko juu ya Honda. Mbona nimekonda, masaa kaingia, mjini Tanzania, kaua watu 100, mama nipe 100, watoto wanalia.
Give him a clap. He just took you back to your childhood. Okay, he just took you back to your childhood. Nowadays, they don't do that song. They don't do hip hop. Like, they don't do like that. Okay?
God is good until the time. My name is Bakita Kasivo. I'm from Mwiso Rescue, Machakos. And I have a short shairi about the phones. Simu zimeleta kero, wakebe tunalalama. Siku zote ni rununu, katu hamtuangalii. Tutegeeni na muda, nasi mtusikie. Hujakatazwa kuchati, ila jua majukumu.
Another presentation right there. I'm seeing all the online safety people doing like, yeah, we agree, parenting and online safety, yo. Okay, for those ones, she's talking about the way as parents, we are always on our phones. and we don't talk to them, we have neglected our parenthood, and it's an ouch to most of us. So the kids have told me it's kind of boring, so we're gonna dance one more time. So I want all the dancers in the room to come hapa hivi kabla sijawaibisha. All the dancers, kujeni, kimbieni. The dancers, tuko na muziki, wamepatiwa muziki ya watoi. Haya, she's the only dancer. Come. Kujeni. Kujeni. Mnaweza kapanda juu. Pandeni hapo juu. Sijui. Haya, pandeni juu. Kujeni tu dance kidogo. Okay, wame-select song yao, Chadled, you know? Wana-select wimbo hapa hivi. Aya, wengine tupande kwa nini? Kwa after hour kisha. Wengine tupande juu, wengine tupande hapa juu. Tupande juu ndio tuko na moja tu, DJ moja. Wengine tupande. Haya, tupande juu.
It's almost coming. I think if they see the chaperones, some of the chaperones also dancing, they'll dance with them.
Chaperones. I had forgotten about chaperones. Ay. Chaperones. Mayo. Muko hapo tu bado? Mupo? Haya, hebu simameni. Ay. I'm picking up on this side. Kumbe chaperones wako hapo hivi wamejificha. Sha. Yes. Okay, wake up this. Okay, let's go. 1, 2, go. Like all of us should be standing and dancing. All of us. Ready, 1, 2, go. Hiya.
Ladies and gentlemen, please we are standing for the guest of honor becoming a Secretary for Labor and Social Protection, Honorable Florence Bore, and the Principal Secretary for Social Protection and Senior Citizens Affairs, Joseph Mutari. We shall continue to be standing for the national anthem and then the East African anthem.
Makofi, wase. Makofi. And then I'm going to ask one of the kids.
Player.
Please be seated. I greet you all in the name of Christ. Good morning. Welcome to Daystar University. My name is Miano Weche. By the grace of God, I'm the chaplain here. I'm going to pray and bring a very brief reflection on the theme of the conference, and then we'll continue with the program. Let us pray. Behold, children are a gift of the Lord. The fruit of the womb is a reward. Like arrows in the hand of a warrior, so are the children of one's youth. How blessed is the man whose quiver is full of them. They will not be ashamed when they speak with their enemies at the gate. We thank you, God, for the gift and treasure of children, for the blessing of having them and the great privilege of raising them. We thank you for the blessing of stewarding their becoming, for the joy of watching them unravel into beautiful souls, your own handiwork. As we now gather here in your name and for your name's sake to reflect on their protection, increase our wisdom and sharpen our discernment, and make us faithful stewards and courageous ambassadors of this cause. Amen. In the words of Whitney Houston in her song Greatest Love of All, she sings that I believe children are our future. Teach them well and let them lead the way. Show them all the beauty they possess inside. Give them a sense of pride to make it easier. Let the children's laughter remind us how we used to be. And yes, I do agree that children are our future. And the future must first be desired and anticipated, and then properly approached with the right preparation. We grow into the future, or rather, we grow the future and so secure our posterity. The future must be protected. And to help us reflect on the subject of the conference, I'll use a very short verse from Luke's Gospel, Luke 2:52. It says, and Jesus grew up in wisdom and stature and in favor with God and man. Jesus grew up in wisdom and stature and in favor with God and man. Howard Thurman, in his book Jesus and the Disinherited, provides a useful framework for us to begin to think about Jesus growing up as we consider the domains of his becoming. This is what he says. First, that we begin with a simple historical fact that Jesus was a Jew. Of course, it may be argued that the fact that Jesus was a Jew is merely coincidental, that God could have expressed himself as easily and effectively in a Roman. True, but the fact is he did not. And it is with this fact that we must deal. Here is an issue of identity, that our identities are not coincidental. No single person gathered here is who they are by coincidence. And we must begin to own and accept our unique identities. A second thing that Thurman says, that the second important fact for our consideration is that Jesus was a poor Jew. The economic predicament with which he was identified in birth placed him initially with a great mass of men on the earth, that the masses of the people are poor, that we must take into account and own our contexts. Because if we do not do that, then we are not being very serious. We must look around and describe what we see. thirdly, that Jesus was a member of a minority group in the midst of a larger dominant and controlling group. In 63 BC, Palestine fell into the hands of Romans. After this date, the gruesome details of loss of status were etched line by line in the sensitive soul of Israel, dramatized ever by the increasing desecration of the Holy Land. It is utterly fantastic to assume that Jesus grew to manhood untouched by the surging currents of the common life that made up the climate of Palestine. Not only must he have been aware of them, that he was afflicted by them is a most natural observation. Here we must contend with the fact that we are affected by the world that we live in, that we touch the world and the world touches us, and the world affects our becoming. It is part of our formation. The historical setting that Jesus grows up in, the psychological mood and temper of the age and of the house of Israel, the economic and social predicament of his family, all these are important. And he inherits the same traits as countless other Jews of his time. He grows up in the same society, and yet he was Jesus and others were not. In spite of all the things that touch us and the things that we touch, we have this opportunity to grow up and become unique and genuine. It is therefore interesting to note that in spite of all that, in spite of the poverty, in spite of the oppression, the oppressive world that he lived in under Roman rule, that it can be described of him that he grew up in wisdom and stature and in favor with God and man. So there are four things that can be aimed at. Wisdom, when we think about children, to create an environment for intellectual growth and the development of emotional intelligence. Stature, to create healthy circumstances for them to grow physically and become healthy people, to provide the resources for them to be safe and healthy, the right foods, the right clothing, the right medication. When he talks about favor with God, healthy spiritual formation is important. Transmitting the right beliefs to our children. Teaching them to believe rightly about God, about themselves, and about other human beings. Unfortunately, we begin to transmit religious and ethnic biases very early, and we're not helping our children when we do that. But it also talks about favor with men, the development of social intelligence, to learn how to value people and to know how to interact with people in the world so that the world is a favorable place to be in and to live in. Of all the ways God could have entered the world according to the Christian narrative, he chose to clothe himself in frail humanity and in the humblest and most helpless of all ways, as a child. The incarnation itself is a miracle, but it is a vulnerable one needing protection and careful nurturing. Those who are familiar with the Christian stories would remember the flight to Egypt. Because the child is vulnerable, he can't protect himself, and so the parents have to flee to Egypt. Unfortunately, for those who could not flee, there's loud crying, because every child, every boy up to 2 years was slaughtered to satisfy the insecurities of a tyrant. Christian psychologist Paul Tournier observes that the ideal place for the child is a family, that the child who has been able to grow up harmoniously in a healthy home finds a welcome everywhere. In infancy, all he needs is a stick placed across 2 chairs to make himself a house in which he feels quite at home. Later on, wherever he goes, he will be able to make any place his own. He who has once had the experience of belonging in a place always finds a place for himself afterwards. whereas the one who has been deprived of it searches everywhere in vain. Why is this idea important? First, there is the suggestion that a primary protection system for children is ensuring that they have a stable home where they can drive their roots deep without denying their basic identity or dismissing it as a mere coincidence. The alternative is to raise children in unstable environments which offer no protections in an already hostile and unstable world. Therefore, they run the risk of becoming rootless. This question of important social realities of places and groups of people we feel most dependent on has been posed to Christian congregations. And author Jim Wallis has observed that few people responded by pointing to their community of faith, which is tragic. Yet, as he further points out, the social reality in which we feel most rooted will be the one that will most determine our values, our priorities, and the way we live, including the absence of such social communities. And sadly, many children in the world today grow up in the absence of such social structures and protections. Our involvement within these various social realities, like family especially, shapes our fundamental identity and our vision of reality. If we want to raise a hopeful and optimistic generation of young people, then we must invest in settings that are stable for the formation of a true identity, a true sense of worth for themselves, and to see the world as it should be seen, as a place of potential, as a place of becoming, as a place of contribution. These two things, fundamental identity and the vision of reality, are important as protections for our children as posterity. Therefore, Ina Grace Dietrich says, our identity and vision are both taught and caught from the interaction with others. And I believe that interaction must begin in that primary setting, which is the home. What kind of society will have its way with our children? Because the question is not whether we are socialized, but what kind of society will have its way with us. And I imagine that at this conference, you'll be talking about what kind of society we are living in and the various factors and variables within society that shape our children, that ensure that either our children are safe or that they're not safe. But in the end, society has its way with our children. The society in which Jesus was socialized, in spite of the contextual challenges of the day, appears to have produced a well-rounded child growing in all the right ways and enjoying all the right favors. And I must say, it must have begun in the home. While many of us cannot afford to flee a hostile world or have the privilege of being warned of danger by an angel, we do have the opportunity to create stability in the spaces we call home as a first line of protection for our children in their formative years. It is my strong belief that it was at home and in his primary social circles as a child that Jesus was socialized into a life of favor and stability, which allowed him to grow in wisdom, to grow in stature, and in favor with God and with man. And perhaps if we take the task seriously at that most basic level of the home and the family, we might just be able to protect our children from losing their humanity. Amen? Jesus loves the little children, all the children of the world, red and yellow, black and white, all are precious in his sight. Jesus loves the little children of the world. Amen.
Thank you. Let us clap for the pastor. the wonderful sermon. Madam PS, Principal Secretary, and other guests today. Welcome to this particular conference. I want to start the program by inviting the Vice Chancellor to give some few remarks.
Good morning. Good morning. Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Labor and Social Protection, Honorable Florence Bore, Principal Secretary, Social Protection, Mr. Joseph Mogasi Motari, UNICEF Kenya Country Representative, Ms. Shaheen Nilofa, UNICEF Regional Advisor for Child Protection for East and Southern Africa, Ame Brooks, Shem Nyakulu, Secretary Children's Services, conference chairs, keynote speakers, ladies and gentlemen. I welcome you all to Desta University and to this conference whose theme is Ending Violence Against Children, Evidence to Action, which provide a crucial platform to address the global issue of children maltreatment. As Desta University, we are privileged to host this conference. We are all aware of the issues affecting children. We have seen violence on children by their parents, caregivers, such as teachers and domestic workers. The plight of children in our continent is an issue that requires special focus. And this conference is therefore critical because it is critical because it gives various stakeholders a forum to present findings, exchange ideas, and possibly come up with action points. At Desta University, we champion the cause of children through the Institute of Child Development. The Institute equips practitioners and academicians with the knowledge to intervene and respond to cases of violence against children. I encourage all of you to engage wholeheartedly in the discussions and action that will unfold during this conference. Together, let us strive to ensure the well-being of every child and contribute to meaningful and lasting change. Welcome to Desta University. Thank you very much.
Let us appreciate the acting Vice Chancellor for Desta University. I want to take this opportunity to welcome the Principal Secretary, the children. I want to take this opportunity to welcome the children representative, who is the president of the children in Kenya, Samuel Simti, to give his remarks. Welcome, Samuel.
High Excellent Honorable Florence Bore, CS Labor, Lady Justice Teresia Madeka, Principal Secretary Social Protection Joseph Motari, CEO NCCS Abdinol Mohammed, Secretary to the DCS Shem Nyakuti, government officials, dignitaries, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, and the most important, children. Good morning. I'm Jambo. Habari zenyu? Tuto hai. So hi. Yeah, it's good that you're alive. And this conference is mainly for us as children. This is the platform that we're going to raise our concerns and issues based on child protection. Sindio, we want an end of violence. Sindio. So I would like to, my name is Samuel Smith from Mombasa, and I am currently the president of the Kenya Children's Assembly. I would like to thank God for seeing fit in such an occasion that I stand before you confidently and passionately, executing my duties in this convention to address you on behalf of my fellow children. As the children's president, I would like to express my immense gratitude to my fellow children for finding time in a bid to address this critical issue, the most pressing issue of our time, violence against children. I acknowledge and give a big fat thank you to the government and all actors who work with children and for children. As children, we are making a stance against all forms of violence against children because it deprives us of our rights to protection and to a safe and healthy environment as enshrined in the Children's Act 2022 and Article 6 of the UNCRC. As children, we are still facing harmful practices like FGM and child marriages, especially the children in the marginalized communities. Regardless of the Day of the African Child theme 2022, eliminating harmful practices, we as children, we are still wondering if the theme of last year, Day of African Child, was eradicating harmful practices. Why are we still facing these harmful practices? Even though the milestone achievements that have been made, we still demand for more. There's still a long way to go. All actors who work for the children and with the children. However, it is crystal clear that the high cost of living is immensely contributing to violence against children. This is something that children themselves approached me and told me about. Evidence is there from riots and political instabilities. During such times, we are exposed to extreme violence whereby we experience injustice. At this time of when there is political instability or war in any country in Africa, as children, we really face injustice. And we are still questioning what measures are being taken. Not only just this menace is depriving us of our basic rights, but literally almost all our rights. Poor parenting has led to indiscipline and children taking care of themselves. When we are offered with proper and quality parenting, we won't get indulged in drug abuse and behavioral problems, online exploitation, children, pregnancy, and child trafficking. All those forms of child protection. When I'm mentioning about parenting, I don't only mean the parent. As a parent, it doesn't mean that your child is the only one who you gave birth to. Let us try and adopt this traditional war of taboos where in the earlier days, you used to get that there's that love in the community, whereby when you see hata kama si mtoto wako akifanya kosa, you discipline. You get it? Thank you so much. Positive parenting, emphasis, communication, empathy, and constructive discipline should be taken. It focuses on fostering a robust parental-child bond, promoting positive behavior, and teaching essential life skills. These approaches bring about support and encouragement, creating a nurturing environment or child overall development. In regard to this, immediate action to address violence against children should include, number 1, zero corruption. This is the first thing you should consider when you are addressing violence among us as children. If you look at the juvenile justice system, some are lured by money to drop cases of children or perhaps do away with them. This is where we can challenge the justice system. Actors, they must be expeditiously deliver justice to children, regardless of the corruption. So as children, corruption is also it's also promoting and it's contributing to violence against children. So 2, cost of living. This is affecting the ability of our parents to provide for us. Even not attending school is based here. This way, our parents will not be able to pay school fees due to high cost of living and deteriorating economy, which we are facing as a nation. Instead of the government, they should put up measures on the cost of living that all children realize their rights to education, which is a fundamental to our growth and development. 3, political instability and war. As the children's president, I call upon our African leaders, including His Excellency Dr. William Samoei Ruto, to continue enhancing the spirit of democracy in order to bring peace and stability within our country, Kenya, and Africa at large, so that even people can stop even running out of their countries. We can stop having refugees, children. Cindy, this is upon our leaders. I hope they are hearing this. The last one is they should address on harmful practices. As children, we are still experiencing harmful practices taking place in some communities, even though some milestones have been achieved, but including developing Anti-FGM Act, Sexual Offense Act, Labor Act, among other acts. But the question is, do children know about these acts that you're making for us? You don't know about it. As far as much it's a milestone, we should be sensitized and know of these things. Implementation of law and policies. As far as much today, as children, we have converged from all walks of the continent to speak and air out our opinions. Moreover, we offer sustainable and equitable solutions. We cannot do this on our own. Therefore, we call upon all our esteemed stakeholders and child protection actors to not only listen to our bitter song of lamentation and pain, but also take our clamors and concerns seriously and with a lot of weight. So this is just based like penye tuko hapa. The outcome of this, we are here, we will discuss on what is affecting us, but when we come to you, adults, what will you do like to assure us that you're going to implement the policies that we will be making here? Hope we're together. This is the last one. Meaningful child participation. Yesterday I was invited and we launched the Kenya's journey towards protecting children. The research finding in page 65, paragraph 4 of the Decade of Change 2010-2019 have proved that there is no active child participation. Therefore, the Kenya Children's Assembly must be active from grassroots, which is the word, to the national level, in a bid to enhance child participation. The counties that are yet to form and counties that already have formed this Children's Assembly should be facilitated for their meetings, their sessions, and also projects. We have projects and we also need to meet regularly as an assembly. Moreover, all children representatives must be trained on child advocacy and digital literacy, not just to offer good but quality representation. The Children's Parliament is for every child and open to all, in a bid to debate on issues affecting them, involving in policy formulation and coordination of children matters. Therefore, a wide sensitization of KCA must be done. So before I conclude, I hope what I've read here is not just the story, because this is something that I did not. Yeah, I'm the one who authored it, but these were the voices of children. They approached me and told me of all these issues that today I'm here to address it. So please take note. Tunataka sauti zetu zisikike. Jameni, tunaomba tusikike. In a polite way. We are not demanding, we are demanding for action. Otherwise, I wish my fellow children, I urge them to feel free to air any concern and issues. Yeah, I would like to wish you an interactive and phantasmaglorious conference.
Thank you, President Samuel Simit. Please let us appreciate President Adam Simit. Simit is a great name. I want to welcome the Principal Secretary, State Department, Social Protection and Senior Citizen, Mr. Joseph Mogosi Motari. Welcome, sir.
Phantasmaglorious. This one making the noise. Thank you so much, Mr. President of the Children's Assembly. I want to assure you that this one that you have given us, we will take it seriously. As the State Department of Matters Children, we are going to take your concerns very seriously. And I think in the next time, what I'm hearing, Madam Waziri, from the President is that we don't involve them when we are making the decisions upon them. So next time, I think I'll ask my team who handle Matters Children, led by my team, the secretary here and the NCC, our director or CEO will make sure that we really get a committee from the children that we can be sitting with. Madam Waziri, yesterday I had the privilege of having my part for this particular conference today. I had a small engagement with the president and the team, and also many officers who are also in this room. So mine is very, very brief to make one or two remarks and then ask you to talk to us and officially open this assembly to us. Honorable Florence Bore, the Cabinet Secretary, Minister of Labor and Social Protection. Professor Muturi Washira, DVC Finance, Administration and Planning, Acting Vice Chancellor at Daystar University. Master Samuel Smith, the President of the Children Assembly. Ms. Airy, representing the country representative UNICEF, representing Shaheen. Andy Brooks, Regional Advisor for Child Protection for East and Southern Africa. Thank you. Mr. Abdi Nur Mohammed, my CEO, our beloved children, development partners present, representatives from the government agencies, conference, delegates, ministry staff, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I am delighted to extend a warm welcome to each of you as we gather for the second International Conference on Child Protection in Africa. This conference serves as a crucial platform for practitioners to enhance professionalism, share promising practices, celebrate diversity, and strengthen associations for child protection in Africa. Indeed, our aim is to create an environment that fosters networking among researchers and service providers in the children's sector. Together, we can advocate for the implementation of various conventions and guidelines dedicated to ending all forms of violence against children. The Waziri, our president, has been very categorical on this. Ladies and gentlemen, let me highlight specific objectives of this conference. One is sharing emerging good practices and innovations to accelerate commitments towards preventing violence against children. Second, identifying gaps in current efforts to prevent violence against children in Africa. Thirdly, challenging child protection practitioners to adopt a zero-tolerance stance towards practices that encourage violence against children. And fourthly, exploring the future of child protection in Africa. We have to forge a way forward. What is it? What are we supposed to do beyond Kenya? What in Africa, what are we supposed to do? Can we have a global team? Can we have a global president for the children? And these children interact with those ones from Togo, Nigeria, and the rest. We really want to forge ahead in this particular conference. Ladies and gentlemen, it is now my honor to welcome our Cabinet Secretary for the Ministry of Labor and Social Protection, Honorable Florence Bore, to address our esteemed participants and officially launch for us this particular conference. Let us be all upstanding and welcome our Cabinet Secretary with an applause, please. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. Thank you, Waziri. Most welcome.
Thank you. You can sit down. A clap for the PS. Good morning. God is good, children. You've not had breakfast? God is good. And all the time? Did you travel the whole night? Really? Have you been given tea? You know, I'm a mother. I can leave this microphone and give you tea. Can I dash to the kitchen? Yeah? Mr. Joseph Motari, the Principal Secretary for Social Protection and Senior Citizens Affairs, Lady Justice Teresia Madeka, I'm sure she has her representative within, the chairperson for the Standing Committee on Administrative Access to Justice for Children in Kenya, Professor Labanairo, Vice Chancellor of Daystar University, ably represented by the acting VC, Professor Muturi Wachira, Master Samuel Smith, the President, Kenya Children's Assembly, Ms. Eri Matthews, representing the country, Representative UNICEF Kenya, Mr. Brooks, the Regional Coordinator UNICEF, Abdinur Mohammed, our CEO of NCCS, the National Council for Children's Services, development partners present, children participants, ladies and gentlemen, good morning once again. I'm very delighted to welcome all of you to this informative 3 days conference. This second biannual National Child Protection Conference 2023, whose theme is Ending Violence Against Children, Evidence to Action, provides a platform to celebrate our gains in the provision of children protection services, where we can share and learn from the many experiences across the country and across the globe. World over, children experience different forms of violence, sometimes within safe environments and in the hands of the most trusted people. The challenges we face today pose a threat to the gains and efforts made in the attainment of the child rights. The disintegration of traditional values, the contemporary challenges to families, the climate change impacts, which have deepened the levels of poverty and vulnerability, exposing children to more harm and deprivation, technological impacts that have come with uncontrolled information to children, and online abuse, among others, require that we must shift our concept of programs to make them more adaptive to the needs of our children. Ladies and gentlemen, the Kenyan Constitution in Article 53 affirms the basic rights to children, including the right to education, the right to nutrition, the right to shelter, and the right to parental care. And further, it also recognizes the need for children to be protected. Protected from what? Protected from abuse, neglect, harmful cultural practices that the President talked about, like FGM, all forms of violence and hazardous exploitative labor. Kenya enacted the Children's Act 2022 to ensure that children living in Kenya are protected and are able to advance their lifelong opportunities. I want to applaud the support of the many stakeholders who have continued in this journey with us, not only in the development of the Act, but also on the ongoing development of regulations that give effect to the full implementation of the Act. Ladies and gentlemen, protecting children from abuse and neglect certainly requires changing approaches, particularly at the parenting, communal, and institutional levels. This calls for strengthening capacities for child protection and embracing evidence-based programming. In 2019, Kenya conducted a survey that measured the prevalence and nature and consequence of the physical, emotional, and sexual violence against children. In this survey, it revealed that over 50% of children have faced at least one form of violence in their lives. The consequences of these forms of abuse have got far-reaching negative impacts on our children. And drawing from the survey findings, government was able to develop the National Prevention and Response Plan 2019 to 2023. The plan was aimed to accelerate multi-sectoral actions to address violence against children, and it also outlined the actions designed to address the root cause of violence and be able to protect children at risk and support the healing process of child violence survivors. The implementation of the National Prevention and Response Plan includes raising awareness and advocating for child rights through the theme or the wording of spot it, stop it. When you see violence against children, make sure you stop it. You spot it and stop it. Campaign to be able to end violence against children. This year marks the end of the implementation of this National Prevention and Response Plan. And therefore, we need to reflect on the gains made and acknowledge the existing gaps and prepare our next set of interventions to be able to help us combat violence against children. It is my hope that the interactions and experience sharing in this conference will be able to build in the existing knowledge and pave the way for the improvement of programs. We also need to be innovative in detecting and responding to violence against children. Ladies and gentlemen, violence meted on children not only makes them victims, but also make them perpetrators of violence. With regard to issues of children in conflict or in contact with the law, I wish to commend the Honorable Chief Justice for gazetting the Standing Committee on the Administration of Justice for Children in Kenya and acknowledge the selfless efforts by the judiciary in the improvement of the child justice system. The government's efforts of protecting children will continue to gain more traction through the scaling up of child-inclusive social protection services, facilitating accessible child-friendly justice system and enhancing mechanisms for online child protection. This financial year, my ministry aims to strengthen the operations of the Child Helpline 116, which has been very important in responding to child concerns. The Family Promotion and Protection Policy, which was approved by Cabinet, is another milestone in providing for development of parenting programs. This was passed in October last month, 2023. I'm glad to report that my ministry has designed a national positive parenting program which will be useful in building the capacity of families in nurturing children. To our distinguished partners like UNICEF and others, the intersectoral coordination and collaboration has proven essential in providing effective and efficient child protection services. This continued efforts as government, development partners, NGOs, private sector, and communities will no doubt serve to amplify the impacts of our interventions and ensure the well-being of our children. On behalf of the government of Kenya, I wish to sincerely extend my appreciation to all our development partners who have continued to support the child protection initiatives and interventions in the country. Together, we can guarantee the future of our society by safeguarding and empowering our children, and we have the obligation to be able to protect and support them. To our children, we reaffirm our unwavering support to help you grow to achieve your full potential. To the conference delegates, I wish you the very best as you interact, as you discuss and seek solutions to the many issues that affect our children that our president has been able to highlight. To the delegates from the other parts of the world, feel most welcome to Kenya and ensure that you extend your weekend to visit our exciting sites and to tour the world's city of destination in Kenya's capital, Nairobi. I now wish to declare the Kenya Child Protection Conference officially opened. Thank you and God bless. Just the off the cuff. I know our experts are here, our children are here, the delegates from Kenya and from outside Kenya. Mine is to wish you the very best as you have deliberations in this conference. Mine is also an appeal that let's be the guiding principle to these children. Let's mentor them. Let's give them the space to speak their hearts. I saw the president speak here. As a mother, as a teacher before, mine is to say, kindly guide them well. Next time, give them a speech that has got simple words, not tough words. Give them a small speech, not a long script. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you very much, Waziri, Honorable Madam Florence Bole, for words of wisdom to this congregation. We want to take this opportunity to appreciate Madam Waziri for opening the workshop, and she's always in the front line on child protection. So please, I want to read you to appreciate Waziri. I happened to grow up during the time of Nyayo, and I appreciate the Nyayo clubs. We want to do it 3 times to appreciate Waziri. So as she will leave, she might join us later. Let me demonstrate, inspect the demo. We do 3 times, then I leave you. Let us start. Moja, mbili, tatu. Funga. Fungua. Asante mama. Kwa kufungua siku 5. Karibu tena. Thank you, Waziri. Thank you, Waziri. Thank you. So we will proceed as the minister leaves us. She might join us later. I want to call the support session. Okay, the support session with the children. The children. Njoo watoto. Jamani, chap. Come.
Wase haraka. Tuanze na wafupi. Afu warefu waende wakiwa nyuma. Sawa? Haya. Harakisheni. Harakisheni. Afu tutoe t-shirt, ndio hizo t-shirt zetu hizo zionekane smart. Tutoe sweater. Madam CS. Please sit down. Kindly sit down.
Let us.
Are you okay?
Come this way.
Watu wafupi waende hapa. Wafupi, tuanze na wafupi. Wafupi hapa. And then warefu.
Wale wafupi mko nyuma njoo.
Wafupi. Hamtaonekana kwa picha. Mkisquat hamtaonekana. They okay, they're fine? Okay. Iko wengine wafupi naona wanakuja hapa. Hao wafupi, kujeni hapa. Hao wafupi. And then tusonge hivi kidogo. One step to your side. One step again, another step. Tusonge hivi kidogo. Tusonge hivi kidogo. Tusonge hivi tena. Tusonge hivi. Songeni tena, one step. Move this side. Songeni hivi. Hapo wengine wakuja hapa chini. And then I'm going to ask our guests to kindly join. And NCAJ, Kenya Human Rights Commission. And then can we have all the beautiful t-shirts looking so beautiful? The adults can stand in between the children. The adults in between the children. Nitasonga. I just want to nitasonga. I'm sorry, I'm in people's views. So I'm going to request Madam Juliet, kindly come this side so that we can be able to balance. And then Madam Honorable CEO, you can hapa hivi katikati. You're good. DJ. DJ, weka mziki wa dance kidogo, wachangamke.
Hello. If I can have Hope here, Hosea, Alamin, and who else? The national delegates, Claire, officials.
The delegate of the
Just
Kenya
rush.
National Assembly, please come.
Just rush.
Please come. I want to welcome the representative of UNICEF, Madam Hale Mattis, who is representing the country representative of UNICEF, to give some few remarks. Then we break for tea, and I will hand over the program to Mr. Samuel. Welcome, Madam.
Okay, thank you very much. So yeah, I'm coming a bit out order, and also I was requested to make this speech very short, which I'm going to do. My name is Eri Meidas. I'm from UNICEF Kenya Country Office. I'm delivering this on behalf of Shahini Nilofe, our country representative, who has to regret today, so because of another commitment. I'm very happy to be here, and also I'd like to mention, so we are here with our colleagues from the regional office, also headquarters, also for Rwanda country office, so they are among the presenters. Congratulations to the DCS, so to organize this conference with an impressive range of presentation with very much intriguing topic. So I'd like to skip most of what I prepared, but I'd like to focus on what these people didn't mention much. Then today we talked about evidence and action. So then Kenya is globally known as one of its progressive efforts to address violence against children. We call Kenya a back country. Kenya has some evidence that inform the actions. Then I just would like to touch two examples. The one is National Action Plan for Violence Against Children, and also there's another one on the online protection. Madam CS also mentioned that. Then that was informed by the Violence Against Children Service, and it happened twice in this country, 2010 for the first time and repeated in 2019. Then we also, Madam CS also mentioned about the National Parenting Program that is also fully evidence-based. This country is using the evidence so very, very effectively for the programming. Then, so we had a children's president, and they mentioned about perspective of children. And we also, there was also government organized Revolution Conference in July. Then there's a children conference, so before the conference. We also had exactly same. So their main concern, the first one was actually climate crisis. The second one was violence against children. So we hear you, so we hear that concern. And yeah, so then today and tomorrow, the day after, so for the next 3 days, so we are going to have we are going to hear a wide range of good practices, lesson learned, and recommendation from Africa and also from the rest of the country, but then we are going to learn from. Then for us to bring these into practices, so there are 3 fundamental actions from UNICEF point of view, and also this is something UNICEF has been supporting the Ministry of Labor, Social Protection, and other government counterparts very actively. So I just would like to mention these 3 things very quickly. The first of all, the much larger domestic resources for child protection needs to be allocated. This is, the budget is the most influential, the most important policy paper that determines what could be implemented on the ground. So this is one thing. So then now, a lot of exercise going on, so by the National Treasury, and a lot of negotiation is going to happening right now. The second, so it's related to also budget allocation, but Kenya really needs more social service workforce. So if it is DCS, that is children's officer, congratulations, you got the additional 50 very recently. That's very remarkable. However, still there are a little more than 500 children's officers who are operating in the field right now. At least the Kenya needs at least one in each sub-county. Then also child protection volunteers, which is community health workers. There's no financing mechanism available right now, so they are all supported by partners very ad hocly and very limited manner. So that in that situation, the community protection volunteers wouldn't be operational. Then the last one I'd like to mention is also CS Boa mentioned the National Action Plan. The child protection is multi-sectoral. So to address violence against children, you need education, you need justice sector, you need a health sector. Then to be able to put all these sectors coming together, the National Action Plan for the violence against children needs to be implemented, and the coordination, interministerial coordination at all levels is going to be very, very important. So this is one thing we'd like to urge the government to accelerate the speed. Okay. So thank you very much, and then it is really our hope, so we will continue to work together to ensure that all children are protected, so from all form of violence in Kenya, so they have the opportunity to reach their full potential. Asante ni sana.
Thank you very much, Madam Heri. Can we appreciate her? She has mentioned a lot of things. She has mentioned the staffing, the child frontier systems, which is very important in the issue on implementing on child protection. Thank you very much. Now, we will be co-moderating with Samuel. Please, Samuel, come. Please, Samuel, come. So that I want to request Samuel from here to take us through to the next step, so that we will be able to, we are late a bit, we are going for tea. I know children need to take tea. Samuel, please, welcome, Samuel. Take on.
Thank you, Madam Migosi.
Samuel, a very wonderful man. Very powerful man. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Migosi. Good morning. Hope it's not too cold, right? Anyone coming from Europe and other very cold places, I hope it's not too hot, right? So welcome, my name is Samuel Munyuing. I work with the African Institute for Children's Studies. It's a local non-profit organization, and I've been privileged to co-chair the planning committee that has organized this conference. So one, I really want to thank you very much for honoring the invitation and being generous to come and share your knowledge. So at this point, I just want us to quickly agree on how we'll structure the program. We're going to have a brief comment by the chair of the NCAJ Committee on Administration and Access to Justice, represented by Noor. They'll be very brief. Then we will invite Andy Brooks to come in and make his keynote speech. And immediately he finishes that, we'll have a panel discussion, which will be about 20 minutes for the 4 keynote speakers who are here in person. But I want to suggest that for the children, I'm sure the ushers, is there a way you can organize in rows, confirm that the tea is ready? I want to believe it's ready. They can start serving the children in small rows. You don't have to go there, all of you, and you can come back. So I believe we can do this all between now and 10 minutes to 11, we must finish or so, or quarter to 11, we'll try, so that we allow you to go into your breakout rooms to start exactly on time. I hope that you are familiarized yourself. So welcome, Bwana Abdinur. And thank you, Migosi, for good job. A clap for him, as you also welcome Abdinur. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. Mr. Shem Nyakutu, our Secretary of Children's Services, Mr. Magara, the CEO, National Council of Administration of Justice, the Acting VC, Professor Mturi, Children President, Mr. Samuel Smith, Madam Flores Umundi, the Deputy Director General, Prison Services, our beloved children, Mr. Andrew Brook, the Regional Advisor, Child Protection Issues, state actors around, non-state actors who are around, members of the Fourth Estate, the entire staff of Daystar University, Nairobi campus, the organizing committee, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I stand here in front of you representing our chair of the Standing Committee of the National Council of Administration of Justice for Children Matters on Lady Justice Teresia Madeka. But maybe before I start reading, I will summarize by saying all our children need from us can be seen here on our posters. All children need to be in a family together. We are making that a reality. Good psychosocial environment for our children, eliminating harmful practices affecting the children, and coming together, all of us, for the purpose of our children. And in the end, the vision of National Council for Children's Services, having a protected and empowered child, is what we should all aspire for. Now back to the speech of our chair. Esteemed partners, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I stand before you today in representation of the chairperson of the National Council on Administration of Justice, NCAJ Standing Committee on Administration of Justice for Children in Kenya, who is not able to join us during this monumental conference. It's both an honor and a privilege to welcome you to this vital conference dedicated to addressing one of the most pressing issues of our time, the protection of the child. Our gathering today embodies the collaborative spirit that lies at the heart of NCAJ's mission. It highlights the synergy between our commitment to justice system reforms through access to justice and our resolute determination to address enhancing the administration of justice and enhanced protection of children in Kenya, and sets the stage for our current focus on addressing violence against children through building resilience, innovation, and evidence-based approaches in child protection. And that's in line with the theme of today. The theme of the conference, Ending Violence Against Children from Evidence to Action, underscores the urgency of our collective mission to address the global issue of child maltreatment. It emphasizes that access to justice for children is not a mere slogan but a fundamental human right enshrined in our Constitution, and Article 53 and 54, which seek to uphold the best interest of the child. As I stand here in front of you, I do not only stand here in my position as the CEO of National Council for Children's Services, but also as the co-chair of the Standing Committee on the Administration of Justice for Children in Kenya Task Force, which is ably chaired by Honorable Lady Justice Teresia Mumbua Madeka, which is tasked to seek ways of achieving a coordinated, efficient, effective, and consultative approach in the administration of justice and reform of the justice system for our children. Among specific responsibilities that are vested in the task include identifying the specific challenges, especially legislative and policy gaps that impede the administration of justice in children matters, and provide an appropriate recommendation or recommendations. Members of the Standing Committee are drawn from agencies and actors concerned with the rights and welfare of the Kenyan child, which aided the development of the recommendations. The Standing Committee, formerly the Task Force, in its status report on children in the justice system, demonstrated that sexual violence against children, especially girls, some even below the age of 6 years, remains disturbingly high, persistent and pervasive despite the stiff penalties provided by the law. It also noted that there is inordinate delay in hearing of these cases in courts across the country, and poor investigations, inadequate training of the officers handling the children matters, and lack of coordination among the child justice agencies. A huge number of children, almost 80%, who are classified as children in need of care and protection, are incarcerated in various institutions, despite not having committed any offense known to the law. The lack of reliable data to inform decision-making also remains a persistent challenge and contributes to low budgetary allocations to the child justice institutions. Ultimately, inadequate budgetary allocation has negative implications for the care and well-being of children in the justice system. As a task force, the Juvenile Justice Information Management System, JJIMS, that we have initiated provides an opportunity to address this critical challenge. It's for this reason that the Standing Committee played a pivotal role in the planning of this conference and supported the side event on child justice, which they hope to present a roadmap on enhancing and effective administration of justice for children in Kenya. The committee commits to remain dedicated to its vision and mandate, which align to the theme of this conference and is grounded on the belief that ultimately a coordinated approach is what is required to achieve an efficient system of administration of justice for our children. I would therefore like to recognize and applaud the child protection approach that this conference has adopted, an evidence-based approach as per the theme of the conference, that is violence against children, from evidence to action. In the past, we have adopted a responsive approach, that is, we respond and advocate for the protection of children once they have suffered harm and irreversible trauma. But this should not be the case. We ought not wait for a child to be subject to violence or any form of harm for us to do something. We must not only have a right, structure and institution that we should have to do it, but we should also take necessary action to prevent these forms of abuse and violence from happening, to ensure that our children are always protected. It's therefore our duty as guardians of justice and the child protection to ensure that successful implementation of child protection and social welfare programs that rely on and strengthen child protection referral networks. The very essence of our presence here today underscores the commitment of the child and the social protection sector in safeguarding the rights and well-being of our children. It is a testament to our collective dedication to do the best in the interest of our children. I encourage us to all actively participate and collaborate, putting our efforts together, coming up with solutions that ensure a safe environment for our children. In the closing, I extend my heartfelt appreciation to each and every one of you for your unwavering commitment to ensure the success of this conference, and for your general collaboration, efforts, and commitments towards child protection. Through our shared efforts, dedication, and social responsibility, we can achieve our vision of a child-friendly justice and a social sector that well serves the child. I wish us all the best in our deliberations, and long live our Kenya child. Thank you very much.
Thank you, my Vice Chair. This conference is very special because every November in Kenya, through the National Council for Administration of Justice, we do host the Child Justice Summit. And so it coincided, and a good number of us are here from the National Standing Committee on Administration and Access to Justice for Children. So thank you, my Chair, for those remarks and helping us connect the importance of the child justice system in both preventing but also responding to violence against children. I want to now, at this point, invite Andy Brooks. Andy comes in with really the kind of experience that we require as one who has served as a regional advisor for child protection for UNICEF in East and Southern Africa, but he's also worked in Asia, in Sri Lanka, he's worked in UK, he's worked in West and Central Africa. So I think you are the best person to give us the big picture on what's cooking, in terms of children. Are we making progress? What is the challenge?
All right. Good morning, everybody. I don't know if I'm the best person, but I'll do my best. I think we're under a bit of time pressure, so with your indulgence, all protocols observed. Let's get to the point. First of all, I really want to congratulate the Kenyan government for holding this conference, for choosing the theme of the conference. It's an international conference, and violence against children is a universal theme. That's not only an African issue, that's everywhere. That children are experiencing physical, sexual, emotional abuse. There's not that many governments that like to talk about it, invite people to come and talk about it. So I definitely congratulate the government for doing that and for wanting to be a pioneer on this subject, which is sensitive, something that gets hidden a lot of the time. You know, that's one of quite a few governments actually in the region of Eastern Southern Africa that have done surveys to find the truth about what's happening. And when you find the truth of what's happening through a really kind of epidemiological survey approach to violence, you see that what's happening is so much more than what the people who are suffering and experiencing violence have ever talked about before. So there's a big difference between what you see in terms of caseload or reports to the police and actually the experience that that children are going through. So a few points. I think there are a few screens around so you can see that. I mean, the real first point is around the prevalence is very high. We're going to look at some data in a minute. This is not a small issue. You know, it's not a kind of marginal issue. It's a big issue. It's affecting significant numbers of children all over the world, including in this region, which will be more like what I will talk about. Sexual violence, nowhere really condoned, but happening and hidden, invisible, covered up in many places. And I've been doing this long enough, even if I just talk from personal experience, to see how sexual abuse can really affect and destroy people's lives, you know, in terms of trying to get over it, trying to live with it, trying to cope with that in often ways that are quite self-destructive and harmful to them. So it's an investment to prevent that, you know, because even if you want to look at that economically, the opportunities for children turning into young adults to become productive members of society. I think that was the cabinet secretary that mentioned that sometimes, not always, not every time, but sometimes and very often, young girls and boys who've experienced violence as children, particularly boys, can go on to perpetrate violence as adults, and often as girls can turn into young women who get into abusive and violent relationships. So the intergenerational side of it shouldn't be underestimated. Tomorrow, so that's a sneak preview for you, we're going to launch a publication with the Southern African Development Community on violence against girls, boys and women, which is really a compilation and collation of demographic health survey data, violence against children survey data, which Kenya has talked about. And this is just one of the data points in it. If you look at some of the countries in the region, you can see quite a significant difference in terms of forced sex, prevalence of forced sex amongst girls and women, unwanted forced sex, from 6% in Comoros to 27% in Democratic Republic. But overall, telling you that on average in those SADC countries, this is an international conference, I know that Kenya is not a SADC country, about 17% of the girls and the women in those countries have experienced during their lifetime some form of forced sex, okay? And 10% of them, that happened in the last 12 months. You know, so 1 in 10 of the girls and women that overall demographic have experienced a forced sexual experience. It's not okay, you know? And the response to that and the reaction to that is much more muted than the striking level of the violence itself. Those countries there below, you cannot really see them, maybe you can see them in the graph, are the ones that have done these violence against children surveys. And if you aggregate and average them all, you find out that nearly one quarter of the girls have experienced some form of sexual violence in their childhood. The reason why that is 1/4 and the one you just saw is 10% is because the definition of sexual violence in this particular surveys includes it's not only forced sexual intercourse, it includes sexual touching and other forms of sexual abuse. So 1 in 4 girls. And if you follow the pyramid up of those 1 in 4 girls, only 50% of them had ever told anybody about it. They'd never spoken until somebody knocked on the door, said, I'm going to do a survey about violence. Could you answer a few questions? They had never spoken about it. And then, the really sad one is of the ones that spoke about it, only 1 in 10 of them, 10% actually got a response and got support. So you can see the chain, right? Why should I talk about that if I'm not going to get a response? And that takes us back when we conclude on some of the things we have to do about it. The boys is less, but the boys is less as well for whoever got support. Boys find that difficult to talk about as well. And the boys who got the support is very limited, as you can see. Yeah, you might find that difficult to read, but the main point I want to make here, and we really have to think about this, is when you ask, this is I think for women and girls, yeah, when you ask women and girls who've experienced violence, if you did talk about it, if you did tell somebody, who did you tell? By far, who they told was the people closest to them, their own family, maybe their neighbors to some extent. All right? They told the police, like 6% of them, I think, if I remember correctly. 6% of them spoke to religious leaders. 8% of them spoke to police. 0% of them spoke to social service workforce, to social workers. So we have a challenge on our head, because if you look at the legislation and the policy, the custodians of that, the people who are out there from the state to help and respond to children and to women who've experienced sexual violence, are social workers. I mean, there's a juridic part to this, the police and the courts, but in terms of actually providing support, it's social workers. But at this moment in time, very few people who experience abuse are talking about it, and of those who talk about it, very few are going to social workers. We have to ask ourselves why. Who are the perpetrators of the violence? Again, the majority perpetrator of any form of violence against children is the people closest to them, the people right in their own household. In fact, the household is where the majority of the violence takes place. Parents, can be extended family, and again, all of that contributes to the silence around it. You remember Samuel, the president, talking about corruption? That was really interesting. He's talking about corruption in the sense that this thing happens to us as kids, and then people make deals about it. They settle with money. That's corruption. His experience, her experience isn't being taken into account. There's no accountability for the person who perpetrated. They settle that in a form of some kind of settlement. And he's right. That's a kind of corruption. I never thought of it like this, but it was a very powerful message. A last point on the perpetrators. He was also talking, Samuel, about schools, how the current economic situation means kids are out of school. Teachers are the second highest scorer of violence against children. What does that tell us? We want our kids to go to school. We want our children to learn. But at the same time, there's a side of the school. By the way, the journey to school can often be dangerous for kids as well. Some kids have to walk a long way to go to school. But that's another part in the school. Surely that should be a safe place for children in terms of sexual and physical violence. But it doesn't seem to be. That's not what the survey is telling us anyway. So you see to what extent the education system, the health system, the police, justice, all need to come together with social welfare on this. This is a slide which is looking at increasingly something we're thinking more about, at least in UNICEF. I don't know for everybody, but the intersection between violence against children and violence against women, where we see that from 9% to 45% in those countries of children across those SADC countries who live with a mother who experienced interpersonal violence. 9% to 45%. Why does it matter? Because when kids are watching and seeing the violence against their mother, number one, it's emotionally disturbing, right? They're scared. They're scared for what could happen to their mother. There's a complete, often, power differential between the man in the house and the woman in the house. And they're scared for their safety as well, because often the violence against the mother can turn into the violence against them. The incidence of houses where there's interpersonal violence between the adults coming down to the kids is much higher. The lighter one is showing countries where you have the both of them together compared to where you only have one and not the other. So we're child rights activists as UNICEF. Our whole mandate is around children. But if we ignore the adult and particularly the violence against women, we're not seeing the whole picture effectively. So we're trying to do better on that. We're trying to work more effectively with other organizations who work more ostensibly on violence against women, because the connection is just becoming clearer and clearer. So some key, what we call change strategies. What are we going to do about this? You know, that's another kind of the key message. We've got to stop talking about the problem the whole time and actually think more a solution focused. And it starts with the advocacy and the communications. And now in that sense, the data is very powerful. This kind of data that each of those governments, there's 12 of them, now nearly 13, because Ethiopia has done that violence against children survey. So the government says we want to find out what's happening to our children. They do a survey. The findings are shocking. And that gives you a platform like this one to raise your voice and to make it become an issue. It's not every government like Kenya that's put that up on the podium and wants to talk about it, but the evidence is important as part of the advocacy. Sometimes we get disappointed because the prevalence of the violence and the scale and proportionality of the vulnerability of the kids doesn't translate into budget allocations. You know, we kind of look at how can this be so high and this one be so low in terms of investment. So that's a big challenge. That's a big deficit in the years to come that we really need to do something about. We're going to keep making noise about it, drawing attention to it. That's part of the work we do. With the evidence, like I mentioned, the second one, partnerships, all of the folks behind. We need to work much more together. Sometimes we work a little bit too much in our own corridors. Sometimes the ministry who's in charge of that doesn't even know what everybody's doing in the country. That's, I hope, one of the roles UNICEF plays or should play, to broker a bit the relationships between government, civil society, so we actually have a common coalition to address it. A lot of these issues and the reason around the silence is sometimes to do with the social norms, gender inequalities in particular. How can we address those effectively so that people feel confident enough to talk about it? Because often, in any country, often when you talk about it as a kid, it gets worse for you actually. Your life changes. You get taken away from your parents. You get put into somewhere which it could even be worse than where you were living before. So you have a lot of responsibility when children confide in you to be able to respond ethically and responsibly and really help them get through the fact that they're not getting abused every night, but also give them some restoration and way forward. We talk a lot about the multi-sectoral and inclusive system strengthening. So with all the goodwill in the world, the principal ministry responsible for this subject in this country, the Ministry of Labor and Social Protection, is never going to have the capacity to address this effectively. And the implication and consequences for children go well beyond what that ministry can do. We talk about health. We talk about the justice side of it, you know, the accountability and the education. All of this needs to come together much more. With that ministry, and in many countries actually now in Africa, this ministry also handling cash transfers and social protection. And I think this, if we can more effectively link up addressing economic vulnerabilities of families where some children are vulnerable, including to abuse, addressing that economic vulnerability, as well as providing the social work support for the risk and the support to the child more effectively, putting these two things together, because they're often under the same ministry, but in some countries they're not working together. They're going in different directions, and the social protection side is often getting a lot more profile and resources than the children's side and the protection side. And we've got to try and work on that. That's the public finance, which is the last part. I think I'm going to skip that because I know I'm under pressure for time. Let's think of 5 things we can do about this, all right, as some kind of call to action. One is definitely on the data, all right, to inform programs, to make sure that, part of this is also about I think it was the permanent secretary who talked about the child helpline. What are the things that actually work and how do we measure them? So we stop doing and investing in things that don't work, and we disproportionately start measuring effective interventions and we put our money there. We're never going to have sufficient funds, so let's stop doing things that are actually ineffective and know the things that are effective. That's part of the measurement. There's also this thing about legislation, policies, and budgets. Honestly, I've been working like 20 years now, more or less, in and out of this region and across the other side of Africa. It's reasonably okay, the policies, the legislations. I mean, they can always be improved. The problem is not that. The problem is the implementation of them, and particularly the decentralized side of it. So that's the third point about the service delivery, really stepping up the social worker. Somebody needs to take accountability for making this happen, and coordinating, letting other professionals know that this kid is in trouble and needs your help, whether that's the health, education, or whatever. And that's the social worker, and there's far too few of them. There's also the communities, of course. One of the things we've got to get away from, in a way, is the kind of top-down approach. These are national surveys, national plans of action, national decision-making. Where's the social movement? Where's the outrage from the communities that how could it be possible that 1 in 4 of our girls are experiencing sexual abuse or violence? And putting the pressure coming from the bottom up, not only kind of organizing plans and from the top down. I think we need to have both of those pressure points, and the bottom up needs to be supported to be stronger. Social movements, social media, you can do a lot with it to get people more familiar with it. And finally the partnerships between us, between governments. Before I came in here, we had a small meeting upstairs with the PS and the cabinet secretary, and they were really positioning Kenya as a country that could be a convener around this subject and try and bring different kinds of partners together, which they have. To be fair, the children's groups are there, civil society groups are here, women's groups are here, as well as government and people like us from international agencies. Many thanks for listening.
I'm requesting Andy not to leave the stage. They are difficult questions for him. I hope he's ready. Thank you very much. Personally, some questions ran into my mind. I was asking myself, has anyone presented a good enough, a convincing enough return on investment on VAC? Until we show that to the politician who makes decisions on whether to put money on water, on the road, or on a child protection system, then it will be very difficult to make a difference. At this time, I want to, propose a very brief, rather a slight revision on our program. I want to kindly request you to be patient, that we will do this for another 15 or so minutes, a panel discussions. At this time, let me invite the keynote speakers who are here. Kindly come and take your seats in the middle here, and Dr. Roslyn Olumbe. So we'll have an opportunity for them to introduce themselves to you. Basically, that's what we are doing. If you have some questions, we'll give you a chance, especially for Andy, who's spoken right now. The others will find their own time to speak. So we'll do this for about 15-20 minutes at most. By about 11:15, you will go for tea break. 11:30, we head to our breakout rooms. I believe the presenters, you know where your breakout room is, in the 5th floor and the 6th floor. You can use the lifts here. I think there are also lifts on this side. And the escalator, that is. And then we will have a bit more of extension to about 1:15 for your lunch break. Then we come back at 2 p.m. for another keynote speech. So at this point, I want to introduce the panels, the keynote speakers to you. I will do this together with Dr. Roslyn Olumbe. I know we have two. So you will share the mic. Let's see, yeah. Dr. Digolo, can you please be kind and share the mic when you have it? Okay. And then, so the two of you will share this. You're fine with that, and then I'll share with Andy here. Great, so like I've mentioned, this is largely for us to introduce ourselves. I've already done for me. I will give Dr. Lumbe, and then we'll explain to them how they'll introduce themselves. Dr. Ari, you want to introduce yourself?
Thank you, Sam. Good morning. I'm Dr. Rosalyn Olumbe. I coordinate the Institute of Child Development here at Daystar University, and it has been a great privilege being on the planning committee and hosting this conference. You are welcome, even as you welcome to this panel discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Rosalyn Olumbe. To be honest, were it not for Rosalyn Olumbe, we will not be having this conference. She's really the pillar in here.
Thank you.
Since Andy has already done a bit of introduction, we'll go that way. Do you want to give some guidance, Dr. Ari, on how the introduction should be done?
Thank you very much. We are so privileged and honored that you are here. Maybe just quickly, if you could introduce yourself and maybe just highlight quickly your name. We're assuming we don't know your name. Your organization, if you're affiliated to any organization. You can tell us your country of residence. I know there is the one of birth, but your country of residence and your area of expertise. Thank you.
Morning, everyone. My name is Dr. Lina Digolo, Kenyan, born and raised. I work with an organization called the Prevention Collaborative, where we do a lot of work globally supporting governments and organizations to really use evidence to inform action. So just really pleased for this conference. And in country, I've been doing a lot of work around violence against children for the last 15 years. So really passionate to sit here this week and hear more about the new innovations that have been done.
Great. Good morning. My name is Ruth Juliet Nyambura Gashanja. On a good day, I don't sound like this. I am an advocate for children. I am a lecturer at Kabarak University, and I am the Child Justice Advisor to the Chief Justice. And I am also affiliated to the UNODC. So my expertise is on child protection, child justice, and anti-human trafficking initiatives in Kenya and globally. So this is, for me, a topic close to my heart because I have worked on issues and with children who are victims of both sexual abuse and child trafficking, and children also who have been on the wrong side of the law. So to sit here with experts and to learn, I am really looking forward to see what next. We thought the law was the problem. We thought the practice was the problem. I really want to learn from all of us on where do we take this. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. Good morning. My name is Andrea Souza. I'm a prosecutor for children's rights from Brazil. And I've been working in this office, in the DA's office, for 35 years now. And my expertise is on child protection. Our system is a bit different. We don't only prosecute cases of children who are in conflict with the law. My job mostly is on child protection. And in this capacity, I can sue the government or do strategies to implement child protections actions and public policies in my region. I work in a city which is one of the biggest cities in my state. We have 1,200,000 people and around 400,000 children under 18. And I'm very, very happy and glad, and I can't express The feeling I have when I see this huge conference, and it's amazing what you have done, Sam, and the doctors. It's really a pleasure and an honor to be here and to share some of our experience. And the thing that struck me most today is that hearing all the children talking, the minister, and now the UNICEF representative, is that we are in the same page. We are in the same. We share the world, and unfortunately, we share the violence against child too. So the statistics that were shown here are the same in Brazil. The thing that the family environment is the most dangerous for children is also the same in Brazil. The thing about the girl, they said, why am I a girl? I hear this a lot. Why things are different for boys and not for girls, why for us it's even different, right? So, well, I'm looking forward for what the outcomes. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good morning and namaste. I'm Deepak Sapkota from Nepal. I'm very thankful to the organizer for inviting us, and thank you everybody for very warm welcome. I'm working for an organization called Karuna Foundation, which is very much dedicated towards disability, and we are promoting community-based rehabilitation in a very new way in Nepal. I think within the protection frame, children with disabilities are the most victimized and marginalized population, and we have to pay serious attention on that. I have a presentation on Friday morning. I will be talking more on that with my experiences in Nepal. It was really great to listen to all the speakers this morning, and the commitment that has been shown by the minister as well as from the regional office of UNICEF for collaboration and working together is key. I think the problems are more or less same everywhere in different formats, and the most effective issue that we need to do together is to collaborate and share knowledge and move forward. Children, I would like to say one more thing, is they are not only future, they are today too, so the today that we provide is very important for them to shape their future. So I think we need to stop saying children are future of tomorrow and humanity. They are also today, and we have to accept that, and we have to move on. So thank you very much for this opportunity, Sam, and everybody.
Thank you.
Ask Andy whether there is any secrets that we have not known about you. Maybe you are related to the king, the prince, anything? Any surprise?
No, sadly, I missed the king's visit, and I'm not a relation. No.
Thank you very much. So we're going to be brief. Like I said, this is really to introduce us. So since the others, have done the chance of introducing themselves, let me begin with you. So Andy, you can give us just one experience that makes you feel either we are making it in terms of, we are managing and reducing violence against children, or we are just not making it. It could be, personal. We have some psychosocial support people here, so they can help you if it's very personal.
Of course, I mean, we're all saying there's a lot more to do, but let's try to be a little bit hopeful and inspired by one or two things. I mean, one, because these kind of violence against children surveys are very much in the center, these repeat surveys. So the first ever survey that was done on violence against children was in 2007 in what was called Swaziland then, and is called Eswatini now. They just did a repeat one. And there's really dramatically a drop in terms of the sexual physical violence in particular. And then I understand here as well there's been a drop. We can be skeptical, we can ask a lot of questions, but I think we've got to go with a headline that something changed. We have to go much deeper than that, understand what it was that changed, but that gives me hope.
Thank you for that. I keep feeling like, you don't want to do this very hard work. You know how emotional it drains when you're doing child protection work? To know that change is possible in the positive, that's great. Thank you. The data is saying it.
I believe, and I experience that we are progressing significantly. I think the issue is, the violence against children is happening within a very so-called safe place, and we need to know, the so-called safe places. We need to observe. We need to see how safe they are, like the UNICEF representative said. School, family, the closest one are the challenges. So we have to pay attention on that. And new issue that we are facing is technology. This internet, online thing kind of is emerging. So we are progressing, but we have to have two strategies to tackle the issues. One, how we can deal the existing issues, and how we are going to deal the upcoming issues because of climate change and because of technology evolution that is happening globally.
So I hope we have a glass half full from Andy and a glass half empty from Deepak, right? Maybe there'll be a better story from Andrea.
Well, my glass.
Should we turn off the other mics?
Okay, sorry for that. Well, my glasses always have full. So I think that this conference shows that we are going forward. We are talking about violence against children. I'm a 60-year-old woman, and I was raised getting beaten up by parents, by grandmothers, by everybody, telling me that I was always wrong and that I had to always do better. And this was good. This brought me here, but it could have been easier. And we have children here talking with adults. So we are dividing this place of power that was always adult-centric. And now we are dividing them with children. So I think that we have been progressing. Of course, there are a lot to go. Of course, we are not blind. But at least we're showing the lights over what's happening, and we're taking children and the violence that's inflicted upon them out of this invisibility. So I believe that it's a very good step forward.
Thank you for sharing that. I just wanted to add, those of you who work in Kenya, you must agree that employing a child domestic worker is becoming more difficult. They are not that available, right? And it is true that some of us, I heard the young people will tell anyone who is above 40 like me, they will tell me, the old people like me, that, when you were growing up, if you cried, you were beaten. If you stopped crying, you were beaten for not crying, right? So things have changed. Juliet.
Okay.
I think we'll just use.
I think I'll share two things that stand out for me. So the intersection, or not actually intersection, where the situation should be solved is where I'm looking at this from. So this is the court, the justice actors, and the glass half full for me is looking at some of the strategies that we have developed as a country. And in particular, I'm looking at two strategies that the Chief Justice recently launched, the SGBV court strategy and the child justice strategy. And these two strategies speak to the trauma-informed courts. That means that everybody who is working around the child who is a victim of abuse is being looked at from a trauma-informed perspective. Are we there yet? Maybe not, but certainly the fact that we admit that we need to put in place this kind of structures is a step ahead. However, as a country, one of the things that has baffled me, continues to baffle me, is that we've never really answered that big question. How did our children end up in Shakahola? Thank you.
Thank you. And those very practical experiences are important. Shakahola, if you don't know, was a massacre that has happened here in the name of religion, and half of almost 700 confirmed deaths were children. Very sad.
Yeah, I think most of the speakers, they have expressed my feelings about this, but I think of late I've been more enthusiastic with the progress we're making, not only in country, but globally around this issue. I'm particularly excited about the fact that we have evidence. And we have evidence. Is it working? Okay, so we have evidence that VAC is preventable. We know that it is. We have evidence, interventions that have been put out there that we know work. And that excites me because now we are not working blindly. And what excites me most about Kenya is that we are actually using evidence to inform our policies. We are attempting to use evidence to inform our programming. And we have a government that's showing leadership, calling this out as an issue, and showing commitment in forums as such as this. This is good. So I'm a bit optimistic about the progress we are making. The other thing that makes me even more optimistic is and I'll invite you to read the report we just launched yesterday that tried to understand how we gained the progress in the decade. And what touched me most in that report is some of the quotes we were hearing about action being taken by children themselves to say, no, this is not going to happen. The community members themselves saying, we don't believe VAC, we know VAC is an issue, and taking action against it. So we're working at all levels of the ecological system to stop this thing. The journey is long, but there's progress.
Thank you. Very good. And I'll just pick up, and I'll request even as we respond to this and we respond to time, maybe in a minute or a minute and a half. We have all come here to attend this conference, and we are aware that keynote speeches will be done. And I'm just wondering, what is it we should anticipate when we come to your session? What is that one thing? So that we can have these people not miss those workshops. So one thing, what should I anticipate as I come to your workshop? But two, what is the one thing I should take home from this conference? Dr. Digolo, if I can start with you.
I think I said mine already. My session is on violence prevention. I'm going to be giving you the evidence around VAC being preventable, the interventions that have worked particularly in the global south, in regard to being able to reduce VAC and reducing it within program time frames. So it won't take years. But finally,
what should I take home?
Yes, I'm going to say that. What I'm going to take home is what I hope to take home is looking at the programs, I'm seeing a lot of innovative interventions being put there. I would like to see, my hope is that as Kenyans will be able to document these interventions in a broader way beyond an abstract and see the government taking these interventions, evaluating them and bringing them to scale.
Thank you. So I hear evidence, let's get evidence, but two, implementation, that will implement what we hear from here. Thank you so much. Juliet.
Great. My topic is around mending the broken justice chain. The NCAJ Standing Committee on Children, which I'm a member of, have a report out in 2019, and the report showed that there was a broken justice chain, and this is what I'll be talking about. And my take home, and actually I'll be talking about it from obligation of the state perspective. My take home, as I already said, I think is really to look at what are the practical prevention steps? Because as a lawyer, I think I have seen that addressing violence against children from the court is a little bit too late. And I think we can prevent it. So I'm here to learn, especially from Dr. Thank you.
Thank you. So yes, as we prepare ourselves from the legal system, that we can see how justice has been denied or delayed, but what can be done, and we can implement it. Thank you so much, Juliet.
Well, I'll be talking about what we call the hidden pandemic, that it's the effects that the pandemic brought to children, especially orphanhood. In Brazil, we have 700,000 people died from COVID, and a lot of them left young children, and they are deprived now for parenting care. And this brings out a lot of violence effects, from child marriage to all kinds of child abuse and all kinds of unprotections brought by orphanhood. And what I am bringing back, and I already feel it, it's hope. You know, that we can change the world, change in the way we treat and address children's rights and everything.
Thank you very much. I feel like doing the art therapy, and we can start putting our thoughts together and seeing what we take home. So yes, COVID was 3 years ago. We still have the effects, and I think let's hear how has that promoted VAC and affected children. But won't we carry home hope? Thank you, Deepak.
Yeah, as I said, you know, children are not only tomorrow, they are today too. So if today is safer for them, tomorrow is going to be safer, no doubt on that. So let's work on that, and let's be proactive instead of being reactive or active. So my stake is, you know, let's work together, let's make today better so that we can have better future.
Thank you. And you almost speak like the African saying, it takes a whole village to raise a child. So let's pull together and do it. But I know you've been listening about technology and children and how has that affected, and Deepak will take us there very well. Thank you very much. Andy.
Yeah, I mean, you can't anticipate what I was going to say because I said it already, right?
So what should we take
home? I can say one thing, yeah, one thing to take away. I think I go with you. I mean, the proven interventions, you know, because honestly, I think we're just a bit too scattered. We're too scattered in terms of each other. We're a bit too fragmented in terms of the different kinds of interventions. Just to give an example, there are really a growing body of evidence around parenting programs and the shift that they can make in terms of protection of children. It's just one example, you know, and it's particularly on the prevention side of things. So we need to get more into that lane and really think about the things, you know, and understand. And there's a lot of things happening in the next 3 days. I was looking at the program. So a lot of people from different parts of the world talking about their experience. Let's try, if the Kenyan government's committed to that, let's try to distill and then build on this, you know, not go back to the next conference and a lot of fragmentation, but consolidate and really try to build a kind of discrete and significant set of interventions that are going to make the difference. So we focus on them together, you know.
Thank you very much. As we have known, for those of us in child development, childhood trauma has a lifelong implication. But two, it's Sigmund Freud who said, childhood, a lot of adult behavior or challenges are a result of childhood challenges. Can we do something to prevent violence against children? Thank you.
I can say mine? Okay. Well, thank you very much. So we perhaps can allow two very burning questions, especially for Andy, but as the hands go up and some mic is passed, just two questions. Allow me to make a disclosure. You know, when I was growing up and we started African Institute for Children's Studies, in 2009, our dream was that we'll have a platform where people from different parts of this world converge, agree, because your child is not safe until the other child is safe. There's no country that will feel safer until all children are safe. And so as the African Institute for Children's Studies, I'm very privileged that we are sitting here with a panel that involves our advisory board, Deepak from Asia, Andrea from South America, Juliet herself, our board chair, and we want to grow that platform because we believe that engaging together, and I'm very happy that here we have Asia, South America, we have Europe experience, and of course from us. So, Makofi, just appreciate that the world can converge for that. Any burning question? Just two only. Okay, I see a hand there. Dennis, any hand this side? Gender, any female? Okay. So, okay. Okay, so those two. Go ahead, Dennis.
Right, thank you so much. My name is Dennis Ratemo. I work with Terra de Soms Netherlands as the program manager. I'm excited to hear what session Juliet is handling around mending the broken justice chain, because there's a lot of conversation, physical and online, of a guy by the name Terry K. Krieger, who was arrested in 2014 here in Kenya for distributing child pornography. He was sentenced for 50 years. He served only 8 years and was released in 2022. In 2023, again, he's been convicted for sexually assaulting minors. I hear there are 3. One of those is a 3-year-old. As we do all this, there is a call to action to work with all actors. And the justice system is one of those, and a critical player in this case. How do we restore hope? Because we've got a lot of hope on that, the criminal justice system, but with the corruption that even the president talked about, it is what is making it break, even as we think about mending. So, Juliet.
Great, thank you. I'm Suzanne from South Africa. I wanted to ask around the VAX study, and I'm particularly interested to know about the discrepancy between the reporting of violence against boys and violence against girls, and just how those questions were asked. I know there is a growing body of evidence to suggest that how we ask boys in particular about their experience of violence might actually show an increased number. Our study in South Africa, our national study, actually showed that boys had experienced more sexual violence than girls. And then also you mentioned around interventions that we can do, you including women. What's your view on including men in violence prevention programs as well?
All right, thank you, Dennis. And like the rest of us, I also read this on the newspapers. I read about this man when he was released. In fact, we understand at night is when he was quickly bundled out of prison, and now this has happened, and I am sad to read about is that he's locked. I hope this man is locked up for good or extradited to the U.S. To be prosecuted there, because this has happened before with a UK citizen who defiled children here, but then he was taken all the way back to the UK, and he was prosecuted in his country. So I hope one of these apply. But what are we missing? One is evidence. And a matter in, I think, 2015, brought by Ripples International, stated this in court. Justice Mumbi or Justice Macau, one of them, stated that if the police and the investigation do not do the investigations right, then it is actually a violation of the rights of the child. And I see that, you know, when matters come to court and you sit through court, some of the evidence that is brought there is not enough to actually keep this person in prison and you know, or hold a charge against him. So this is a call to all of us, as you say, Dennis, for us to be cognizant of that. But one of the things that the Standing Committee is doing consistently and constantly is to travel this country training the court user committees, and probably tomorrow there'll be a breakout session where you'll meet the NCAJ Standing Committee members and you'll learn a bit more about us. But since 2016, when the Chief Justice Mutunga put us to task, we started that process of creating awareness to all the justice actors so that they can be able to be cognizant and aware of the rights of the child. So with you, Dennis, I'm hoping that a different outcome for this particular case. Thank you.
Yeah, so the question of whether there's a different way of asking the same question to girls and boys, I'm not sure if that was what you were asking. I don't think so, but I don't know for sure. I've not been the one asking the questions directly, but in terms of the survey tool itself, I think it's the same question. How they ask it, how any individual enquêteur, how do you say that? The one who asks the question asks it, I'm not sure. But probably it's right? At the end of it, invariably, I mean that's surprising from South Africa, and it'd be good to know more about it. But invariably, and especially for sexual violence, girls are disproportionately affected compared to boys. But just to go on a bit, I mean, why I think it's also important, not only the relationship, what I was talking about, intimate partner violence with women and with children, but I think, honestly, women and feminist groups and women's activists have created a political space for violence that children's activists are struggling to get, I mean, they've been very successful, including in South Africa. And as I go around this region particularly, I mean, of course, women vote, children don't vote, the political space might be bigger, but I think we have to come together. We've been too divisive. In some ways, we've just not sufficiently worked together, and I think there's a lot more we could do and be much more an effective political coalition if we work together rather than apart. I also worry through that sometimes boys' experiences of violence is being sidelined. We're talking a lot and rightly about violence against girls and women, but the experience of boys in terms of abuse is being too much overshadowed. And I think in child protection, we probably have a lot to learn from, again, GBV or women's activists about engaging men more effectively engaging boys. So I think, good question. I mean, there's a lot for us to think about in that.
Andy, I just, with your permission, wanted to add something on that. I'm currently doing a bit of work around the intersection between violence against women and children. That's a good question. I think the main reason why there's a lot of advocacy and the evidence that's coming out right now is the evidence about the shared risks, things like they're driven by the common social norms. There's a lot of intersections between violence against children, and children here is both the boy child and the girl child and women. I think where the question comes is, what about violence against men? That's not what you are asking, I know, but the thing I always tell people is that, yes, there's violence against men, but that's driven by when you start mapping the risk factors, they're a bit different. So it's easier to bring these two programs together and use the little buck we have to bring down two pandemics that could be brought down with the same dollar. But then in terms of engaging men, what we are now seeing from the violence against women field is that we cannot do it. We cannot, the programs that have been seen to be a bit more successful, particularly the ones that are trying to change social norms, is that we have to engage men. So programs that are working with both women and men to bring down violence against women are beginning to sort of show more impact. So even as we are working at the intersection, men have to be involved as partners in trying to drive the two forms of violence down.
Thank you very much. A round of applause for the panelists. Thank you very much. So we head for tea break. I hope the presenters, you make sure you had your tea very quickly. If you miss it, don't worry. Lunch will be in a few minutes after this. By 1:15, there will be lunch. For your information, the children are having their parallel session from here. And from time to time, they may be coming over to listen to what you're saying. And tomorrow, watch out for the seminars that are there. enjoy your tea, and head back to your groups. We'll meet here at 2 p.m. for the next keynote speech. Allow me to also announce Daniela, who is one of the keynote speakers, who was not able to travel from the US. I think they were bereaved. And then we also have Chichi. She's around, but she couldn't join us, but she'll be coming to make a presentation tomorrow. Enjoy your tea, coffee. Is there porridge? Okay. See you at 2 p.m.